Military Parole in Place program is a super awesome program for any applicant that has either an I-551 or is a citizenship of the United States. And what it is by you joining the military, you're able to sponsor your family and they get a military parole in place.
Welcome back to the ASVAB Domination podcast. I am your host, Mickey Gamonal, and I am here with Staff Sergeant Cuevas of the Las Vegas National Guard. He is a recruiter, AGR, in Las Vegas. Staff Sergeant, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well.
Good afternoon, my man. It's great to have you. I appreciate you making the time. So to get started, I just wanted to ask you straight up, what is the National Guard pitch? So what is it that you tell people who are thinking about joining the Guard why they should?
Perfect. So like, let's say I'm in a lunchroom area where I have a bunch of people, super quick to the point. Every benefit that the other guys have, we offer, but they don't get none of ours. We're state funded as well as federally funded. So for the state of Nevada, if you want to go to school, if you want to go to school free, you do 100% tuition waiver up to a PhD, 100% textbook reimbursement, and then you could use your federal benefits to go to school and get paid to go to school. So if education is your path in life, we'll get you there. If it's a trade school, we'll get you there. Pretty much anything you want to accomplish in life, you could do. You could do it in the National Guard. You could serve here. You can live here, and you don't have to worry about traveling and being at the dime of Uncle Sam.
Nice. Yeah, I love it. I mean, I'm in the National Guard myself. I make no secret about it. I love being in the National Guard. Hella benefits. When I went to Bullock, I was one of the guys who got a rental car. All of the federals, all of the active duty, they were all begging for rides. I mean, and that's the kind of like service. That's the hookup you get with the National Guard because it is state and federal funding. So and that's like a very small example, but it adds up all the way across throughout TRADOC.
Yeah, and you'll see it a lot. I seen it a lot compared to like when I was active duty to the Guard side. I'm like, it's night and day.
Oh yeah. Awesome. No, that's great. So yeah, I mean, so you have an active duty background. How long were you active duty before going Guard?
I just did 4 years. I tried it out. I hated it.
Okay.
So I didn't wait till the end of it. I did the whole 365 days in a wake up and was super glad to put up that uniform.
Nice.
Planning on joining again. It totally ruined it for me, but I figured I'd give the Guard a choice, a benefit, and we'll try for 1 year. If it worked, then cool, I'll stay in. And here I am 10 years later.
10 years in the Guard, 4 years active duty. And so there was a gap between, right? And that's when you were doing your nursing career. Is that correct?
No gaps. I literally went straight from active duty straight to the Guard. And then I used the Guard to pay for my nursing career.
Okay. Awesome. Congratulations. I mean, you're the kind of guy that actually played it right. A lot of people will get into the National Guard, completely forget about the benefits. They just try to tread water, right? Like they're focused on making rent or whatever it is. They got their family. A million things come up, right? I think the vast majority of people join the National Guard thinking, I'm going to go in, get my education. And then a lot of people get into the National Guard, completely forget about everything that they came in for. But you did it right. How were you able to, I mean, because you got kids, you got a wife, you got like a whole life going on. How is it that you were able to keep your education kind of top of mind throughout that?
So I'm an immigrant. So I always had come into this country was trying to achieve the American dream. And I knew it was never going to be gifted to me. So I had to work hard for it. So I never take any advantage that I can get for granted. So everything I get offered, I take it full speed and I just run with it. So I was one of those things that I was like, okay, cool. The Guard's going to pay for this and I can knock it out real quick. Ultimately, it's going to set me up for my family. So I might as well take advantage and do as much as I can with it as quickly as possible.
Hell yeah. I love it. No, the immigrant mindset is legit. I mean, when I was in basic training, like those guys, I mean, there were a dozen Puerto Ricans in my basic training unit and they were like, no joke with their M4s. They were doing it blindfolded. They, knew where the firing system was. They knew their general orders. Like they, they were most insecure when speaking because they were afraid of their accents. But these guys were squared away soldiers. These were probably the best soldiers in the platoon just because they have that immigrant mindset of this is an opportunity, and then with that, like that's a complete shift from everybody else who's like, damn, now we got to do push-ups. Like that's a night and day mental difference.
It's the hunger, the hunger and the drive. That's what I told all my applicants. Stay hungry. If you're hungry, I can feed you. Once you lose your hunger, I can't help you out.
Yeah. No, that's actually a really good way to look at it. You know, when people stop that motivation, there's nothing you can't make motivation out of thin air. It has to come from within.
Exactly. So it's hard to push them. So I always make sure that they maintain that hunger that they entered with, and they run it through the whole career. And obviously, as their paths in lives change, their hunger will change for different taste. So I just got to just fire accordingly with them and help them get to ultimately what they joined the guard for, and get it all that they can. At the end of the day, Uncle Sam's going to get every pint of blood out of you, so you might as well get your benefits in at the same time.
For sure. Yeah. There's no question that the National Guard is there to, I mean, to make the most out of their soldiers. You know, that's the point of any group, is to just get the most out that they can. So I think that's a great perspective. I think it's good that you're pushing back so that these individuals can get the most from their time. I wanted to ask you specifically, because I lived in Vegas 2008 to 2023. So I lived in Vegas for a good stretch.
Yes.
What do you think is unique about recruiting in Las Vegas, Nevada?
Ooh, what I've noticed that is different to everybody else is that we have a big Hispanic population. And being Hispanic, it helps me a lot. And then the other thing that's very unique is we have a huge Polynesian, Hawaiian / Filipino population.
Mhm.
So the really unique part is that, granted, I married my wife and she's pretty much half Poly and then half Filipino. So this is the 9th island. We were stationed in Hawaii. So I lived there before I joined the military. So coming here for me has been really good to connect with the Pacific Islanders as well as the Hispanics. Obviously being Hispanic and then having that Pacific Island connection. So that's the awesome thing that I find. And a lot of times the Pacific Islanders as well as Hispanics have a drive to do better. And they don't look at the military as like a last resort. They look at it probably as a primary or a secondary. So it makes it really easy to recruit in those fields, where I think in other cities, like, for example, Los Angeles or maybe New York, there's not that much drive to serve, or they look at the military as a very last option. And by the time, if you put the military at the very last, by the time you actually need the military doesn't need you, and they don't want you, honestly, because you probably have way too many problems. And by that point, it's impossible to get you in. So that's what I like about this market, is the Hispanic, the Polynesian, and obviously their drive to improve their lives and be a better overall.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's one thing I noticed in Vegas is there's a ton of hustle. Like while I was going to UNLV, everybody there had not one, not two, but like 3 jobs, you know, side hustles galore. They were driving Uber. They were doing everything they could to just make it. And I think that translates into the National Guard unit too. When I was with Quartermaster, those guys were all, you know, doing a lot. They were all working. They had to go, you know, they go to drill, get off of drill, go to work, get off of work, go back to drill. Like, hunger, exactly like you're talking about.
Yes. Yeah. I always tell the applicants that treat us as a side hustle. At the same time, we're a stepping stone to get to your next level where you're trying to achieve in life.
Heck yeah. Yeah, no, and that's exactly what you did. You went out, you got your registered nurse. Did you ever work in hospitals or clinics? Did you ever do RN time or no?
I worked as an LPN, so not as so I think in California as an LVN.
Okay.
Licensed vocational nurse. But it's the same concept. I worked in Southwest Medical. I worked at an urgent care.
Okay.
And then there's some ER time during COVID. They pulled us to help out. And then I worked at a specialty clinic for many years as a gastroenterologist. So butts and guts. And a lot of awesome stuff about the butts and the guts. So actually, I joined it thinking it was going to be a really shitty situation. I actually ended up enjoying it a lot. And then before I went back to recruiting and actually went AGR, I was working with seniors. So my big thing is helping out the old folk, because a lot of them don't have families or don't know how to ask for help, and they get taken advantage a lot. So definitely want to take advantage and assist them to the best of my abilities.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah. That's an extensive background. I mean, that's so cool that, you know, you go through and get your LPN and then turn around and get back into the National Guard. And now you're helping people to better their lives on the younger side. And you still have that passion to help older folks too. So that's great.
Yeah. I think my big thing is serving, right?
Yeah.
I like serving our life, helping people, and I'm able to do that in every aspect of my life at this moment. So I'm happy with it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right on. Right on. Cool. Well, I want to specifically, I always kind of zoom in on the ASVAB aspect of it.
Of
Do you remember
course.
your ASVAB and how it played out?
I did. So a little bit about me. I did definitely want to join the military, especially coming to the United States. I wanted to give back to the community that allowed me and gave me such an opportunity. So the military is always something for me. So I did study a little bit in high school. I did the JROTC thing. I also did the Sea Cadets thing with the Navy. And in all those aspects, they always had like some type of tutoring and assistance for the ASVAB. But then because my mom, I never joined, I went back to the civilian world. And then I ended up joining at 22. And I remember when I went to join, talked to the Navy initially. Said, hey, I'm going to join. I'm older, but I know what I want. This is what I want. Can you guys give it to me? And they're like, yeah, just study. They gave me like a printout, little paper sheet. I think I studied it for like about a week. And then I went and took the ASVAB. The thing for me with the ASVAB, what I remember was I enlisted in California. So in the Los Angeles, and I think it was right behind the airport. So I think it's El Segundo. I want to say it's El Segundo, like maps.
Okay.
So it's these giant maps. It's like a DMV, but it's like 2 floors and they have like rows and rows of computer. And I remember just sitting there and he had some crusty old vet that was like, just do the best you can. You're going to be here for hours. So shut up. And if you have to pee, hold it. Don't pee. And it was like a full day thing. It was, I think we took the ASVAB, then the TAPIS, and then from there did MEPS. So it was everything in one go.
Dang.
Then I think at the end of the day we enlisted. So we were there like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and enlisted by like 5 or 6 in the afternoon.
Whoa, that
So
is
it's
a
just,
different world.
so it was just exhausting. It was definitely exhausting, but I got an 86 and at that time I'm like, oh, I did pretty good for myself. Obviously not understanding the ASVAB. I just figured I did all right. And now that I've been recruiting for a while, I'm like, dang, I did pretty good for myself.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. A lot of people will focus on that, the AFQT score, and I'm always trying to talk people out of it. But an 86 is a really solid score. I mean, I'd imagine your GT set you up for just about any option. I know you went active duty initially, so were you able to pick your job, or were you just stuck with what they handed you?
Yeah. So initially I went to talk to the Navy. All my friends were Marine Corps. So every single one of my friends joined the Marines. So I wanted to join the Marines and be a Marine with them and do that portion of it. And when I went to talk to my buddies, I'm like, hey guys, I'm ready to join. I'm gonna go do it. They're like, hey, we love the Marines. The Marines is the best thing ever, but do not ever be a Marine. It's not worth it. Yeah. They're like, if you really want to be a Marine, be a corpsman and make sure you get FMF in your contract, which means Fleet Marine Force, which is corpsman is the medics for the Navy.
Okay.
And then I would be attached to the Marines. And they're like, if you could do that, then do it. If you can't do it, then don't join the Marines. It's not worth it. So I went to talk to the Navy guys, got that 86, and for them, you can't pick your job. So they're like, okay, cool. We're going to send you to be a Navy nuclear. You have 2 good friends that are Navy nuclear and they hate their lives. So at that point, they're like, do not do it. Do not ever do that. So I went back to the Navy and I go, hey, look, guys, if you can't give me corpsman FMF, I'm not doing it. I'm old enough. I have a good job. So I don't need this. So either give it to me or I won't join. And that Navy recruiter just refused to work with me. So I went to talk to another Navy recruiter. They refused to work for me, and I went to a third station, and same concept. They all wanted me to do the Navy nuke. Ended up walking into an army office, and I was like, hey, dude, I really want to be a medic. Can you guys give it to me? And the dude said, hey, I've been here for like 3 years. I've only ever put in 3 medics. It's very hard to come by. Do you want anything else? And I go, no, that's it. And he goes, okay, I'll see what I could do. And he called me about a week later, and I was like, hey, I got you that medic slot, but you have to join like now, and you're leaving in October. So I'm like, dope. And I did it, and here we go.
Wow.
Yeah.
So all that Navy back and forth, that wasn't in the MEPS building. No way.
No. So after I completed everything, I went to sit with the guidance counselor, the naval guidance counselor. And I was like, hey, I want a corpsman FMF. And they're like, that's not how this works. Like the recruiter will pick your job for you depending on your score. So this is what they're insinuating. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to take that. And they're like, well, you've done everything. So you could enlist now. And I was like, dude, I'm not a kid. So I put in my contract, but I'm not signing nothing. And they're like, so you've done everything all day and you're just not going to enlist? And I go, yeah, exactly. I told the recruiter the same thing, that I wasn't picking Navy nuke. So, and he's like, I will talk to you and you'll tell me what to do. And he goes, well, Navy's silently Navy nuke, so we can't do anything else. I'm like, cool. I'll call my recruiter to come get me. And I guess we'll talk later then.
Nice.
Yeah. And it was a pretty quiet ride on the way home.
I think these recruiters, like, at the time, right, they had, I don't know if they had quotas, this is all speculation, but, like, the nuclear program, like, that's what they wanted you in, and that looks
Yes.
better as a recruiter, right, if you get somebody in at the nukes. Okay.
Yeah, so I found out that, like, Navy nuke, they got, like, a special bonus if they put nukes in. And then, like, the enlistment bonus, I think, was, like, $50,000. So they're gonna give us $50,000. You can only imagine how much they're gonna give the recruiters.
Yeah.
So I think they're incentivized to put nukes in.
Got you. Okay. At
Yeah.
that time. I mean, who knows now, but at that time it was. And like that's one thing that I think is one of the biggest mistakes so many people make is especially those kids, they just get strong armed. You know,
Yeah.
they're just like, hey, you got a 31 on the ASVAB. We can get you in at infantry. We can get you in at 92 golf or whatever, right? Like we can get you in.
Yeah.
Take it now.
Yes.
And what do you say to like I know National Guard, you get to pick your job, you have all this free leniency. So there's gotta be some sort of a balance that you have to strike as a recruiter where
Yeah.
you're not saying like, you need to get in now. And you also say like, don't wait your entire life for the perfect slot to open up. Cause sometimes that doesn't work out either. Like for me, when I enlisted, when I went officer, I thought I was going to get 25% of my student loans paid for 4
Mhm.
years, and that
Yes.
was gonna pay everything off. Then at the contract, right, it was 15% per year. And
Yeah.
so it's still 90%, you know, of my student loans, which is a good deal, but I think I probably felt similar to, I mean, obviously completely different because you were gonna go spend the next, you know, 2, 3 years of your life doing nukes. I just have a difference of 10% of student loans. But, you know, and I ended up giving in and buckling and signing, and I'm happy I did because it's not like they changed it back or anything like that.
Yeah.
But how do you strike that balance of not forcing the signature, but also like reminding them, hey, you wanted to join the military. Do you still have that hunger?
So honestly, I try to sell the guard, and that's one of the good benefits of the guard is their job is for 28 days they could be Joe Schmo, and then for 2 days in that month they throw on their uniform and they're private whatever, right?
Mm.
So I try to sell the guard, but with their jobs, I again just because I was treated the same way, I try not to do that to them. So I give them the option, and I tell them like, look, if you want to be waitlisted for a job and that's the only job you want, we'll put you on the wait list and we'll wait. Like, I'm not in a rush. This is for your future. It doesn't affect me at all. I've been successful in recruiting, so I could take my sweet time with you, but I just want you to be happy and make the choice that you want. And I put it back in their ball court. And then there's been plenty of times where we show up the day of enlistment, we're sitting there, they get with the guidance counselors and they run out of training seats. So that means basic training is full for that specific job. And now they can't choose that job that they chose. So I've been sitting there with them and I tell them, I'm like, look, we don't have to sign the contract. We could walk out today. We'll go and get lunch. It's been a long day. And then we'll reconvene at a later time when we get the job that you're happy with. And every single person, when I put the ball back in their court, they've made the choice to join at that point. But it's never been my pressure. And if anything, my guys always tell me it almost seems like you don't want me to join because you're so just chill about it. You're like, don't worry. Because I always tell them, don't worry. And I sit with the families. I'm like, don't worry. You don't have to join. You don't have to do this. Pick what you want. Because no matter what, I still win. And you're going to win as well because you're choosing to change your life and you're going to get everything you can out of it. So whatever job you choose, you're going to be happy with. But if you don't want the job that they're offering you, then don't pick it and we'll come back another time. And again, as of right now, I've been lucky and everybody's joined and picked another job on this at the same time that we're already there, ready to join.
Nice. Well, and their lives are forever changed, right? I mean,
Right.
there's so many people out there that almost joined, you know,
Yes.
and they spend the next 50 years talking about, oh, I almost, you know, went to Fort Jackson for basic training. Well, there is something to be said for just getting in while you can. There's a lot to be said for it. But I think it's commendable, you know, because this is an 18 to 22-year-old who's going to spend, you know, 3 years in the prime of their life, you know, either discovering a field or doing something that's either related to their future or possibly not. And you can always like, you know, you can pull a lesson out of anything, but ideally, you know, I'm sure, especially for me when I was 18, I had these grand aspirations. You know, I thought I was going to get a cape as soon as I graduated high school. I thought, you know, the world was going to be all mine. And there's a reality that comes whether you join the military or not of like the world does not care, right? Like they don't really care about your degree. They're not too worried about it. So, and I'm sure you're on the back end of that. Like you probably catch a lot of heat from that, from these kids who, maybe they were dominating their class or maybe they were the bottom of their class. Either way, they feel accomplished. And so they're thinking that National Guard's going to give them the world. And sometimes that's, not always 100% the case.
Yeah, and I do have to I try to be as realistic with them. So I tell them the goods, the pros, the cons. When I first started, and I'll sit in the office and I'll tell people the cons. I think my station commander would tell me like, "What the hell are you doing, man? Why are you telling them all the negative stuff?" And I was like, "If they'll join, they'll join. If not, then they won't join. But I'm not gonna be the reason why they say they hate their life in the Guard. Like I want them to join the Guard and know all the benefits and understand that there is cons. But at the same time, every con that I find in the Guard, I find in the civilian world. So it's very making as realistically as possible. And then I try to get the family involved as possible. Like I don't care if they're adults, if they're 18 and their parents don't need to sign. I believe with their parents in there also, it helps me because I usually always tell the parents more than the soldiers. So it helps me out because when the parents understand and then they could tell their kids, look, this is what the real life is like. He's actually telling you the truth. He's not lying to you. So if you want to be successful, they usually always go that route.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine if the parents aren't there and you tell an 18-year-old, like, yeah, you don't have to join, but whatever you do with your life, you're going to be told what to do.
Exactly.
And they look to their parents and they're like, is that true? Like, because they think their parents have just had freedom for the entire time that they've been alive. It's a crazy world. I mean, yeah, that jump from high school to reality is a whole different shift. So that's cool.
And
It's
just
cool that
feeling
you're
the
helping them
pain.
through it. Yeah, it really does. It really does.
Yeah,
No.
this is definitely a wake up call for them. And a lot of them, what I'll tell them too, like when I'm doing presentations at their high schools is, hey, just save my number. And in a year when you're bored in your couch or you have $15,000 worth of student loan debts, just give me a call and I'll take care of you. A lot of them have actually called me up. They're like, hey, remember me? You sat in my class. And I go, no, yeah, let's do it. And just help them out.
That's great. I mean, that's great. You're an ethical recruiter, which I think is what a lot of people are afraid of. Like, especially families, they're
Oh, yeah.
afraid of these recruiters that are. I remember in high school they were talking about blood money. You just walk right past those recruiters. They just
Yeah.
want blood money, and it is like it's a
Yep.
little extreme. Especially since I've been in the National Guard for a little while now. It's a little different. So
Yeah. That's why my mom wouldn't let me join. She's like, you're an immigrant, you're Hispanic. They're going to send you to the front of the line and they're going to kill you. So I'm like, okay, cool.
Wow. Yeah, I mean it's heavy conversations, and it's not that your mom was saying that to keep you out. It's your mom was
No.
saying that because she believed it. She thought that
Exactly.
was the reality of the situation.
Yeah. When I joined, she cried. She was depressed. She didn't want to talk to me. She was furious with me. It was probably one of the worst things I've ever done to her. And now she loves the Army. She tells everybody. I have 40-something-year-olds calling me because my mom's like, you got to call him. He'll change your life. And I go, Mom, I can't help everyone.
Heck yeah. No, that's great. I mean, it's cool that, you made a believer out of her. So here's a question, and we can edit this out later if you want, but as far as your kids, do you think you would have your kids join the Guard? Is that something you'd be comfortable with, or have you talked to them about it?
So I love that you asked that because when I first joined the military, my wife, when we got married, she's pretty much she's been with me my entire military career. And we discussed this. She goes, when we have kids, will you let them join? And I always told her, no, never in 1,000 years. Like I did this so none of my kids would have to join. And then I have 8 nephews and nieces. So it was the same concept. Like I did it and I took the steps so my nephews and nieces and my children didn't have to do it. Now that I've been in the Guard, at 17, I'm putting their butts in.
No, I mean, that's my perspective. I'm with you. I'm with you. My daughter is 1 year old, but I am thinking, I don't want to pay for her college, I mean, I wouldn't mind it, I guess, but like, why not? There's a lot of benefits that you get from being in the Guard. I think you gain a whole different level of discipline. You get to see what this side of life is like. There's so much more than just education that you get being in the Army. So
Plus, well, my kids, when they were born, I started a 529 for them. So the college account, I'm sure you know about for your daughter. I hope so.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we started our 529 as well. I don't know what I'll
Exactly.
do with it, but we'll see.
So goal is for them, they join the guard, do a 6-year contract minimum. If they join at 17, that's usually their junior year of high school, right? By the time they graduated, they already knocked off 2 years off their contract. They got 4 years left. They go to college, get their 4-year degree. If they want to get out, they could get out. But by that time, they have access to the VA home loan. Their 529 could go to anything as long as they're still students and is helping them move forward with life. So there you go. Here's your down payment for your house on your new VA home loan.
Wow, you can use a 529 for a VA home loan.
Yeah. So again, if they purchase a house because they need to go to school, and mom and dad by then are going to be retired, so I'm going to be traveling the world, so they can't live in my house forever, so they're going to have to purchase a home to go to college. So they'll use their 529 to buy their house, and then they'll have their VA home loan to purchase that first house and be successful.
Nice.
What I think to my kids is a home.
Yeah, which a lot of people would be better off than a bachelor's degree a lot of the time. So that's great.
And they don't have to worry about paying for it because they just got to pay through the guard.
No, that's awesome. I never considered that a 529, but it's an education expense for sure.
Exactly.
I mean, you have to live somewhere while you're going to school. So it makes sense.
Exactly. So that's how the rich people do it. So this poor little immigrant boy is going to do the same thing.
Godspeed, man. Godspeed. I think that's great. I think a lot of it just is that intentionality. I think going through the Army, through the National Guard, basic training alone, it's about seeing time go by. And like the time passes, whether you have a plan, don't have a plan, your plan's bad or your plan's good, the time passes either way. So I think one of the things that I got most out of my time in the National Guard is you might as well make your best plan because the time's going to go either way. So.
Exactly. And it flies by. You know, when I joined, I going through basic training, like just thinking about it every day felt like an eternity. And you never felt like it was going to ever end. And here I am pretty much almost 14 years later. And I look back like it wasn't bad. It was a great time. I met amazing people. I met friends that I'm still friends with till this day. People that I trust my family with, and it's something that other people just can't say they done.
Yeah.
Being less than 1% of the population it's a pretty cool feeling.
Yeah. And it's a key network. I mean, for me, any full-time jobs, any business success I have, a lot of it comes on the heels of my time with National Guard. So there's a lot to be said for it, for sure. I wanted to ask you specifically about your time as a recruiter and the ASVAB skills that you see the people who really do well. So I'm sure you've seen people, and if you have a contrary example, I mean, this might be a tall order, but if you can talk about somebody who did well and somebody who did bad and what those differences might be.
So the big thing that I noticed is parents. So how involved their parents were in their lives, right? Having mom and dad and consistently pushing their children to get to the next level. So the people that scored the highest are usually Asians. So no surprise there. I married one. I see it in my life where we do with the kids that do Kumon, they do their tutoring. Like they don't have TV. If they're going to watch TV, is like they're watching the multiplication table. They're watching the alphabet. They're learning how to count. They're learning this. They're learning that. So in that aspect, as a parent, I think that's where I've seen the most success. So the kids that have scored high have all been Asian. And then the ones that actually scored really low was usually a single parent household, and the parents were just kind of pushing them through. The other thing is, again, that driving, that hunger. Cool. I had this guy that I was working with. I started in May of last year. He didn't join until December 26th. So pretty much 7 months to join from when I started working him. He kept on getting very low on his ASVAB. He started with like a 10. I had him rent the ASVAB for Dummies and have him study that. I had him download the Army ASVAB guide, and I realized math was his problem. So just trying to help him out with math. And then he ended up improving his score and actually studying, and he got an 81. So he started like at a 10 too. And now he has an 81 on his ASVAB score. So, but it's me, went and picked infantry.
Hey, I mean, that's how it goes. When I was in OCS, Officer Candidate School, they have the OLM, right? The Order or OML, Order of Merit List. And so however well you did in the class, I mean, obviously National Guard, again, another benefit of Guard guys, you get to pick your job. So I could have been the worst performing person there. I still would have gotten whatever job I wanted. Lucky for me, I wasn't the worst performing, but Nevertheless, the top person, I think the top 5, they all wanted infantry. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And I think there's I think that's a different level of intentionality. I think a lot of people who come into the Army and who are going to like kill it on the OML and like be distinguished honor grad, all that stuff, they're like, being a soldier is essential to their identity. I think a lot of them come in thinking, oh, infantry is the only answer. So
And I agree with that, because when I joined, I figured, again, joining as a combat medic, I wanted to be attached to the infantry line.
Mhm.
So I went to Fort Benning, and I was like, cool, I went to School of Boys, I'll be with the infantry. Fort Sam, I was pretty much all infantry the whole time. And then when I got to active duty, you don't know what your unit is until you kind of show up. And I got attached to an artillery unit. I remember just getting like the wind kicked out of my lungs. I was like, God, artillery. And I was like, oh, at least it's not Cav, but I was just so depressed. And then
how old
when
were
I
you?
told-
How old were you at that time?
I was 22.
Okay.
22, 23.
Okay.
And just super demoralized because I thought infantry was the only way to go. And I got to the king of battle, and now I know I made the right choice. God chose right for me. So thank you, Lord.
Hell yeah.
Love my time in the artillery, and it was the best thing ever. And going back in time, I wouldn't do it any differently.
Nice. No, I
Yeah.
love that.
You guys were the best. But yeah, I totally could see the whole infantry mentality, because joining, you want to be the best of the best, right? So
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it for sure. You know, even the like best warrior competitions, that kind of thing. There's just a lot of love for infantry, a lot of love for combat arms, and then of course, you know, you're in the Army. You know that combat patch, right? It's all about who's been to combat. Who's like the chest candy's cool, you know, if you're air assault or whatever. But once you got that patch, it's like, oh, okay, you know.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's hard.
Yep.
One of those things that you want to achieve and accomplish.
Yeah.
But definitely, the ASVAB is what I have noticed from my generation compared to the current generation is, when I went to school, I didn't care about school. I was raised by a single mom.
Okay.
So she just wanted me to go to school. I just wanted to graduate high school because I figured I was going to join the military. I didn't think my mom was not going to let me. But my path was just to graduate. So if the graduation class was 300, I was probably 298, 299. Like, I was at the very bottom of the class. But me getting an 86, I was like, okay, I did average, I did whatever. But now I talk to some of these kids in high school, and they're straight A students, 4.0, 4.5 weighted or whatnot. And they're scoring in the 20s, 30s, 40s. They're barely making it. So it's just the education, I have noticed, has changed a lot as far as like public schools. Because I just see it consistently, like, it's a way lower score for my public schools. I do have a few charter schools, and in the charter schools, they do all score around 60 and 70. That's pretty average for the charter schools. But all the public schools, 30s, 20s, and 30s all day long. And they're 4.0 students, straight A students.
That's insane. I mean, that's almost unbelievable. I just want to like a little bit of context. I know you already know this, but for everybody listening who's doing the ASVAB, the score that we're talking about is the AFQT. So it's going to be from 0 to 99. Nobody's ever scored 100, and nobody's ever scored 0. So it's 1 to 99. 50 is average. And so it's a bell curve. It's like, if you've ever taken statistics, you know that it's based off of the normative process. So they did a bunch of tests. They figured out what the average like score level is at such and such time, and that should be 50. So if you have, like, theoretically, in a perfect world, C students should be getting 50s, because that's like the middle of the road student getting the middle of the road score on the ASVAB. But if you have students who are getting 4.5 scoring 20, it essentially means that they are A+ students in school, and then F students, or at least definitely D, but probably F students in ASVAB or in Army. Why? What do you think is the contributing factor for that?
I would say COVID, especially the last few years has been all the COVID babies. So this graduating class is the last class that was officially like the COVID class. So I think moving forward, the score should improve. So I think the standards were just dropped because everybody was homeschooled.
Got you. For that year, right? Like 2020-ish.
Yeah. And then the only other thing I could think of, so just going back to what you were saying on the ASVAB, the 50 is any sophomore.
Okay.
So when the ASVAB was created, they said any sophomore across the United States should be able to take the ASVAB and get at least a 50.
Oh, okay.
So sophomore level everything.
Got
Talking about it is sophomore level math, sophomore level.
right. Because it never goes into calculus. It'll do
Exactly.
algebra 2, but it's never going to jump into like your junior and senior year of high school if you're a high performer.
Exactly. So it's all just bare bone basic. The other thing I want to say is ChatGPT. A lot of these kids, like they've told me the same, that they use the computer, they use Google for all the answers. So they go home and they do all their homework and everything is on the computer and they have AI doing their homework for them.
Right. Yeah,
And
because you could just do 2 windows and just copy and paste all day. And if it's multiple choice, you know, you just click it.
and all the schools now use Canvas, which is all online school. So I'm a substitute teacher too for CCSD.
Okay.
So when I'm subbing there, instead of having I'm breaking down, like if I have a math class, I'm not sitting there writing on the board and doing math problems with them is, hey, you have your homework assignments on Canvas. This is what your professor wants you or your teacher wants you to do. Go ahead and knock it out. And if you guys have any questions, just let me know. And again, everything's on the computer and they're just doing Google answer for everything. And everybody has a Chromebook down to the schools.
Right. So do you have any success with like that 09 mic program? I've heard that you can get, so for the students who are scoring below a 31, there's a couple different options, if I'm not mistaken. And you're going to know way more about that than I am.
Yeah. So the 09 mic program is a program if you score between a 21 and a 30, they'll send you to school. They pay for you to be in school. You'll go to Fort Jackson. And while you're there, you're studying the ASVAB nonstop. You're being tested continually on it. And then from there, you're improving your score. You're getting tested multiple times. And then as soon as you get a passing score, you'll choose a job with your lady back in your state or your male, whoever the person is in charge of the jobs at your state. They'll give you a job. You go straight to basic training and AIT after that. So it's called 09 Mike. It's a super awesome program, but I heard it's either going away or the number of people that they're taking is significantly going down because we've had a lot of issues with jobs. So we bring all these qualified people that join, and now the jobs are so limited because everybody's doing the 09 Mike program. Well, if you think about it, they're graduating and getting all the slots that otherwise qualified people that actually tried hard actually got. So it makes it not fair for the qualified people, but it's a really amazing program. I've only ever put one person in 09 Mike. Thankfully, all my people, I've just pushed them and then I've told them like what to do. So I'm like, hey, study this, study that, download these apps, read the ASVAB for Dummies, and good luck, march to success, Khan Academy. And then I tell them what to study on like just math, arithmetic, reasoning, word knowledge, and reading comprehension. Read books, big books, not picture books. Don't read your mangas. Like read appropriate books. Do some word maths and do it that way. Work on and when I tell them what algebra, I'm like, don't worry about, you don't have to show your work when you're sitting there. You just have to get the answer. So if you're worried about the formulas, just get the freaking answer. Don't trip about the formulas because the answer is all that matters. And I've been successful in my people. So I've only had one person do 09 Mike.
Okay.
His score increased by like 60 points.
Nice. And do you know the timeline for it? How long was he in?
I want to say he was there for like 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah. And for him, it was a struggle bus. But I've had other coworkers, my peers, they've done majority all 09 Mics.
Wow.
Well, if the program does go away, I feel bad for them because that's all they really know.
Right. Well, I mean, if you have people who get a 4.5 and then score a 21, like, what are you going to tell them? You know, like sorry, your degree's not worth the weight of the paper. You know, like that's horrible. If you go through, like, I can't imagine a bigger setup for failure than to go through all of high school, get my 4.5 GPA, and then score in the teens or in the 20s on a normative test.
Yeah.
That was made for sophomores, you know.
Yeah.
That's got to be demoralizing.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's definitely, I've had to learn how to pump people up when they see those scores.
You've seen some slumped shoulders when they come out of MEPS before, huh?
Yeah. And then for the most part, like those really smart people that get the 4.0 plus, they're usually scoring in the 40s. So for them, the big kick in the the stomach is they want that 50 because at 50 we could give you more money to go to college, and so they kind of get upset that they can't get the 50. So one of the applicants that I'm working right now, she's retested for the ASVAB now 3 times. And the highest she's gotten is 48. She can't go over the crest. So she finally gave up, and now she's gonna go on list now. But she tried forever to try to get over 50 and just couldn't get there.
Yeah.
She started with a 41, so or 41 to 48, but everybody's study is different, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and I want to bring it back to what you said earlier. You know, a lot of people will buckle, right? If you're like telling them, hey, you got to sign, a lot of people will just give up and sign. And then some people will leave and never come back. You know,
Yeah.
they'll never join the military. So she probably made the best decision for her, even though she didn't get the score that she wanted. You know, I have to believe that she's going to be just like you when you got that field artillery. Like
Yep.
you were deflated, but now looking back, you're thrilled you went. I would imagine it's the same for her. You know, what kind of difference is it as far as school benefits between a 50 and up and below?
So the really big difference is if she chose a job that has a bonus, you have to get over 50 to get that bonus. And then the other thing is one of the federal benefits is the GI Bill kicker. And right now it's $350 a month for 36 months. So
that's a lot of money. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of money over the 3 years. For sure.
exactly. So it's a good chunk of money for 36 months that you just kind of.
They were 1 point away from. Yeah. Things. That's all right, though.
And again, she's happy. She plans to go to UNR. So she just with the other stuff that she's got, she's already going to be going for free. She just wanted more money in her pocket. So.
Yeah. And I can't blame her for that. I mean, like I say, I went to college before joining the military, and then I got the SLRP, right? SLRP, Student Loan Repayment Program. And I was a little bit disappointed. Looking back, I definitely would have rather done the reverse. You know, rather than doing Peace Corps then Army, if I did Army then Peace Corps, I could have had my school paid for instead of trying to pay it back on the outside. So
yeah, and I hear that a lot too. For a few graduates that I do help, a lot of them they wish they would have done it the other way around. But what is it? Hindsight is 2020.
100%. Yeah. Well, and it's why my mentality with my daughter is the way it is. You know, I don't think she would live in regret of a 3-year career with the National Guard or a 6-year career with the National Guard. But you never know. I mean, there are things that happen, and you do put your life on the line. Like that is a fair thing that your mom was cognizant of. Is there is a hazard of signing up for a war fighting machine. Like that makes sense.
One of the big things that I do tell the parents, because a lot of I've mainly worked with Hispanics and a lot of Filipinos, Polynesians, is one of the big things that I noticed, especially in my career, is my life has never been threatened while I was serving. My life has been threatened a lot more in the civilian world. And then for the 14 years that I've been in combat arms for a long time with that. And in all that, I've met many people, thousands of people. And out of all the friends that I made, I've only lost one to combat. Everybody else has been motor vehicle accidents. So is it dangerous? Yes. But driving a vehicle is more dangerous than anything we do in the military.
Yeah.
It's one of the big things. So it's like the risk definitely is there. But to me, my life has been threatened way more as a nurse and ever in uniform. And again, I've lost more friends to motor vehicle accidents than combat. One friend to combat to the many that I've lost to vehicle accidents, and then alcohol.
Yeah. I mean, the civilian world. I mean, there was the one thing that I always try to do whenever we have like a CSM or a BC show up to drill. I always they'll hand us coins as like PLs and, you know, try to figure out who. And I always try to highlight driver's training because, especially as a water purification unit, if anything bad happens, if like a fatality happens, it's going more likely than not going to be driving related. It's not likely to be anything else because we have so many security checks in place when it comes to firing downrange. But driving those vehicles, you know, a convoy after light sleep, that kind of stuff really happens. And so, yeah, I think it's something that we all need to be aware of is the safety could be a safety in any civilian sector just as much.
Exactly. When I was active duty, it was kind of funny. I was stationed in Schofield Barracks. We had signs right outside of the gates. and it would be a countdown. If we made it 100 days without a fatality, a vehicle fatality, we'd get a 4-day pass.
Shoot. How did it happen?
Hardly ever, maybe once a year. So it just kind of shows you how much of a, when it comes to driving, how we're more deadly to ourselves than any military force we're fighting. You're not the world's greatest military for no reason, you know? We're hard to kill. What we're gonna kill is gonna be ourselves, usually behind the motorcycle, behind alcohol in a vehicle.
Yeah.
So it's the sad part. That's the sad reality, right?
Yeah. No, I can appreciate that. I think that's a good point. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground. Is there anything that you wanted to hit on specifically, or anything that you wanted to say to Las Vegas, or anything specific at all?
Yeah, one of my big things again to everybody is a lot of people make the military their plan B. So if I use you for an example, Peace Corps, schooling, military, so we're plan C, right? A lot of times the military will take a lot from you, but at the same time you could get a lot of benefits. Again, I moved to this country at 13 without speaking any English. By the time I was 25, I was a homeowner. Now I'm 35 and I own my house, I have multiple properties in Colombia. And then with my wife's side of the family, we got property in the Philippines. So as an immigrant coming here with nothing, being able to be successful, I've been the most successful out of all of my friends. And my friends group, I was the first person to purchase a home. So I use military as my primary plan A. Obviously, my mom kind of derailed that a little bit. So it became a plan B, but it went right back into that. And I've always consistently stayed there. So I would say talk to a recruiter, talk to all the recruiters. Don't just get sold on one branch. It's important to figure out what's in it for you guys, right? So what are you guys trying to get out of it? So for some situations, I don't believe the National Guard is the best for everybody, but for 99% of the people out there, I say go National Guard, talk to your states. Every state has a different benefit. But if you want to be successful in life, if you want to get all the benefits and all the hidden benefits that veterans get, go talk to a Guard recruiter. Yes, the hardest part is you're going to be gone for basic training. You're going to be gone for AIT. But once you do that and you're done with that, you got all life ahead of you. And if you're a high school senior right now and you're scared of missing a semester of college, chances are whatever you get from basic training and AIT, those credits are going to transfer over, and that's going to be a semester that you gain back from college. So all those people concerned about missing a semester while you're gone for training, don't look at it like that. Not only that, but at UNLV right now, an average 4-year degree costs anywhere from $80,000 to $120,000. So if you got $80,000 to $120,000 sitting around in the bank to pay for college, why don't you buy a house with that, make an investment, come up in life, and use the Guard to pay for your schooling? And once you're done, you're done. You don't have to keep on serving. You do your minimum. You do your 3 years. You do 6 years. You get out, and now you have access to veteran benefits for the rest of your life. So it's definitely one of those things that don't think of an option A as an option B or C or D. Think of us as the main option, because a lot of times, by the time we're the last option, you already have too much stuff going on that we don't want you, and we can't take you in if we want you. And right now, with the new Secretary of Defense, we're looking for more qualified people. It's no longer going to be, if you want to join, you could join. It's going to be the prime people that are able to join.
I think that's a great statement. I think way too many people think of military as plan Z.
Yes.
And then by the time they get to Z, you're exactly right. They've aged out, or they've broken their leg, or, whatever reason it is.
Got their
It's not possible.
tattoos, their law violations, they're married or divorced, dependents, kids, and by then it's hard. It's a lot of issues that us recruiters could jump through all the hoops, but we can't get you in by that point. It's too late.
Awesome. Well, yeah. So if you're in Vegas or anywhere, if you're looking to join the National Guard, Staff Sergeant Cuevas is here to help you out. He's obviously, not going to strong arm anybody into a career. So like, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for doing what you do. It's really great to have good recruiters on, because they got such a bad reputation sometimes, like they'll come to me, like I get students coming to me for ASVAB help, and they're like, oh, my recruiter's just yelling at me and he's going to make me do this job and da da da. And it's like, just, if you could find a good recruiter like Staff Sergeant Cuevas, you're going to be a million times better off, right? This is somebody who's going to help you with your ASVAB, to give you like a little bit of guidance, and really wants to see you succeed and bring your family in to see that success through as well. So one thing that we were talking about before we started recording was the Military Parole in Place program. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Military Parole in Place program is a super awesome program for any applicant that has either an I-551 or is a citizenship of the United States. And what it is by you joining the military, you're able to sponsor your family and they get a military parole in place. What this does, it changes the status from an illegal entry to a legal entry. So if you have parents that cross the border and they had you here in the United States and now you grew up as a citizen, but your parents still don't have papers, by you joining, you're able to sponsor your parents into this military parole program. They usually get a work visa within 90 days of application, and usually within a year, they're receiving their residency if you're over 21. If you're under 21, then they get put into the parole in place program, and they're protected from deportation. They're allowed to work. They get a work visa, and they can stay here indefinitely until they become residents and then hopefully citizens under this military parole in place program. Now, every state is different, but in Nevada, we do work with a couple different lawyer groups where they take the whole cost. They take all the lawyer fees and they don't charge anything. It's all pro bono. The only fees that come out of your pocket will be the fees for application. So on an average, it's $1,000 to $2,000 per person for the application fees. And again, it's a cool opportunity to protect your family, change your status from an illegal entry to a legal entry. And it's a really amazing program if you're trying to help your parents out. And then spouses is the other one. So it has to be either parents, so mom, dad, or husband, wife. And then if it's a grandparent or auntie and uncle, they would have had to adopt you and prove that they've raised you. But pretty much it has to be your parentals, your parents, and you're able to sponsor them. Now, once they get their residency and then they get their citizenship, then they could apply for your siblings if there's any siblings in there. So it's a really cool program. It's called Military Parole in Place. And it's an amazing program that's available to everybody out there. If you have somebody, a parent that has an illegal entry, it changes their illegal entry to a legal entry and allows them to apply for all the benefits that come with legal entry.
Gotcha.
I've talked to plenty of applicants whose parents have spent $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 trying to get their residency. And here they are 7-10 years later, they still don't have nothing to show for it. So this just allows that status to change and they could get it.
Awesome. So the idea here, this is for a sibling or not a sibling, I'm sorry, for a parent or a spouse. And then, you earn 1,000 or 2,000 in basic training pretty fast anyway. So like if it's a financial issue, that's not the issue. This is more for the purpose of getting that citizenship as quickly as possible.
Correct. And again, it's a super dope program. And a lot of the states, they have their own lawyer groups that they work with. So they'll help you out with whatever state you're in. Nevada, we've worked with them, and then we're currently working with different senators and congressmen so they could pay all the fees. So it's free for our soldiers. We just haven't gotten that funding yet, but it is in the works. But it's a super amazing program that you could assist your parentals, mom, dad, and then also your spouses, give them their residency and allow them to be here legally, not have to worry about deportation. They're here protected. And then if you're an I-551 holder, so if you have your green card, as everybody knows it, after you join with us, after 90 days, we give you your citizenship and we pay for it all. So you don't have to worry about it. We take care of the application, the fees, and you become a U.S. citizen after 90 days.
90 days after basic or after swearing?
That's for the guard.
Wow.
Active duty, you would have to do it all on your own, and you can't apply until after you complete AIT. So you have to be a fully fledged soldier before you could take any action towards this. So yeah, if you're active duty, you'll have to be a basic training, AIT complete, and then you would have to do your own research and figure out what lawyer is going to help you out and not charge you anything. But this is just a guard. It's a benefit for everybody, but for the guard, the day you enlist, your benefits start, so you can start the process the day you enlist. And active duty, technically, your process doesn't start till you get to basic training, and you're not going to be able to write or call lawyers while you're in basic training. So it's going to have to wait till you get to your unit and you're fully fledged soldier.
Heck yeah. Awesome. One more point for National Guard, guys. One more point for National Guard. That's awesome.
Yes.
thanks for everything you do, and thanks for being on the show.
Of course. Thanks, brother. I appreciate you. If you need all my contact information, I'll be posted with this.
Yes, 100%. His contact information will be in the show notes, so go ahead and check that out.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
Thanks.